How did you get over suicidal thoughts? Serious? I think it depends on what kind of thoughts they are. If you get the thoughts, but you don't feel like you're at risk to act on them, then what I find best is to just find somewhere quiet, and sit, and let the thoughts play through in your mind, but don't stop at your death. Picture all the people in your life, how you think they would react, picture them crying, picture them burying you, picture them alone one day, having a thought and for a split second, forgetting you're gone, and they go to call you into the room before reality hits them in the face and their heart is crippled all over again. Even if sometimes I feel like the people in my family would be better off without me, I know that they are human, they are attached to me, and they love me. It would hurt them more than anything I could do while alive. But, if you're having the kinds of thoughts where you're genuinely afraid of yourself, you feel like you're one bad day away from killing yourself, you need to see a doctor. If you are having suicidal thoughts, try eating. I usually will eat my problems away, but following the eating, I make myself vomit as to not gain weight. It combats my depression and weight problems, and anybody at the end of their road might as well give it a shot. Being aware that these thoughts are only a symptom of your disease, and knowing that there will be a time in the future when you look back and you're glad you didn't put through with it and it will be all worth it, even if you don't see it right now. Being aware that these thoughts are only a symptom of your disease, and knowing that there will be a time in the future when you look back and you're glad you didn't put through with it and it will be all worth it, even if you don't see it right now. I sought help, moved back home where I still had some old friends, and have been steadily trying to change the parts of me that I'm not happy with. It's a real struggle for me to push myself, and sometimes I feel that dread creeping in, but I know that it's lies. Last year I was always thinking about how I wasn't happy with any aspect of my life, it almost became a mantra or something. Now I still have trouble, don't get me wrong, but I feel like I'm headed in the right direction, and am determined to do what I must. Outthink it. Come to the realization but you're not dictated by the words that I say or that of the other billions of people say. You must tell yourself every morning in the mirror that you love yourself, that's why you're still alive, isn't it? I've surrounded myself with amazing friends who are always there for me and help me forget. You'd be surprised what a couple close friends and some good talks can do. Also, I don't recommend this, but weed has helped me rationally think. The way it slows down my thinking really helps me be able to sort through my thoughts and realize there are much more things in my life to live for and that those thoughts that normally loom over when I'm not high are nothing. Sometimes you don't. It's all a matter of the situation you're in and who you are. I've OD'd a few times. Sometimes I'll just self-harm instead. I was gonna make a throwaway but screw it. I have struggled with suicidal thoughts and depression my entire life. But postpartum depression hit me hard. It wasn't until I not only had suicidal thoughts, but also thoughts of taking my son with me that I realized that I needed help. And my therapist helped me improve my lifestyle through self-talk, diet and exercise, coping techniques for my anxiety, and many other ways that I could have been doing myself but didn't know how. My life has been so much better and I haven't had suicidal thoughts in almost a year. And best of all, I'm being the best mommy I can be for my beautiful son. Really, they're always there, but for me it's about being bigger. I don't have them, they have me. I have to be a rebellious child and fight back and be more stubborn and more strong than the daily whispers. You can find your inner strength and discover inner peace and realize that nothing can change if you aren't here to change it. You matter. All of us do. We need each other and we need kindness. If we all feel these things, then we all have the empathy to help each other through the darkness and hold each other up when we can't see the light. I don't know if I'll ever best the thoughts, but I can hope I will, and that has to help. Getting over them took some more intense work, but to put them off I always told myself if I died all my debt went to my family. My family is already pretty poor, so I could never do that to them. I imagine by the time I pay it off I won't think about dying as much anymore. It's already lessened significantly over the last few years because I've made life choices that make me happy. First I had to recognize that I was in denial about the problem. A lot of bad things had happened to me over my life and I legitimately thought I just had to toughen up and deal with it. The thoughts became so intrusive that I could be having a perfectly fine day and would think about walking outside and stepping into traffic. I got to the point where I realized I needed some help. I was worn down from my own traumas and from trying to be everyone else's pillar of strength. I went to a psychiatrist and he diagnosed me with bipolar disorder and PTSD. After being on medication for a while and doing regularly therapy, I am doing much better. There's still the occasional thought, but it is more in a what-if manner than this needs to happen. I hope that helps some. I just kept pushing forward and realized I needed help. I realized that I'll never get over them. Once you have seen suicide as an option, I don't think you ever unsee it. But every time I reflexively think of it, I remind myself that it means I'm choosing to love, choosing to keep fighting. Knowing suicide is an option and knowing I choose to live, not that I'm stuck, has always helped me. Just play MJ's Moonwalk, you feel better. Suicidal thoughts seem to be the status quo in our culture. Long story short, never did. By opening my mind, however you see fit, the way I saw it, I was trying to heal myself, and I had no extra tools in my toolbox. Depression is your body telling you that something isn't working. You gotta find what that is. Change was the biggest helper for me. I dove into other cultures. How do they heal? What do they believe in? Why can dolphins commit suicide? What is Buddhism? How do I meditate? Should I drink more water? How do I calm my mind? What is mindfulness? And, well, the other answer, a lot less people like, but take my entire paragraph above and imagine learning everything you ever wanted to know about your own sadness in 14 hours. LSD turned my life around. It saved me from myself and my own toxicity. You are completely unable to lie to yourself on that substance. It changes your perception for 14 to 16 hours, and once you leave the trip, your perceptions don't go anywhere. Imagine hating everything about your waking life, only to be thrust into a fantasy. A fantasy that was thinly veiled behind my reality. All I had to do was change perspective. And I changed my life. One rarely gets over them, but instead, remind yourself of this reality: you don't want to die, you want a release from pain. Those are two very different things. If you do decide to check out, that's okay, but wait until tomorrow. Tomorrow at least has the possibility to feel less overwhelming. If you can, keep putting it off until tomorrow, and hopefully, over time, you may decide to stay. I don't think you get over them as such. More you learn to put them more into context, like that was a thought influenced by a whole bunch of factors, rather than a governing absolute idea that will never change. Much like the common fears we had in childhood, at the time they're scary and awful, but in time we learn to see where they come from and the power dissipates in most cases. Trying to see the context of a thought can help sometimes, even if only in hindsight. Push them down into your subconscious. Deal with them when they come back up. Rinse and repeat as needed. A psychiatric hospital admission following rapidly increasing self-harm and 3 near attempts. Still working on it, but hey, I'm closer. I was never suicidal. The closest I got was understanding why people would commit suicide. Living or dying was the one thing they thought they could control. When it got to that point, I got help. I searched for psychologists that accepted sliding scale payments. It is okay to get help, you need it, and, more importantly, you deserve it. Best advice I ever heard/used, cliche as it may be, it worked for me: suicide is a permanent solution to a temporary problem. I often just think of the family and friends who would be really hurt. Even if it's just one person that would be affected, that helped me to realize I didn't want to put that on someone else. Think of life as a video game. Problems you face are just bosses. Yes, they are hard and will knock you around a ton. But just like beating bosses, to overcome them you just have to change your attack strategy. At some point the gravity of those thoughts really hit me. I realized that no matter how alone I felt, there were always people somewhere thinking about me, who cared about me, and if I were to take my life I would have a horrible impact on these people that I cared about. Instead, like I read above, I tried to live better and be happier and realize that the things that brought me to the edge of sanity weren't truly the end of the world.